We are back, Bears. Welcome to our first episode of the Season 2 Bears Den Pawcast. We highlight the journey of how Cubs become Bears. My name is Tristan.
And my name is Justin. And our guest today is an award-winning Bear who has both played and coached football at the university level since 2012. Our guest is a former college football quarterback and a former co-offense coordinator for the McMaster Marauders of U Sports Football. He played collegiately with the Marauders of the OUA, where he won the Ted Morris Memorial Trophy as the most valuable player in the 47th Vanier Cup. Also in 2012, he won the Het Creighton Trophy as a CIS Football Most Valuable Player, and where he was named CIS Male Athlete of the Year in 2013.
We are excited to introduce that our first guest is the senior football coach, Mr. Quinlan. Given the level of sport and accolades that Mr. Quinlan has accomplished, we learned a lot talking to him about his discipline, work ethic, and motivation to play a sport at such a high level. We also discussed how he changed careers from a university-level football coach to a high school teacher and enjoyed learning about how this transition has had a positive impact on his life and how it has impacted him in building relationships with his athletes and even his students.
This is an episode packed full of advice for young athletes within our school community. But before we jump into our discussion with Mr. Quinlan, here are some events to look forward in our SJSH community.
Our very own Bears Marching Band is keeping up an annual tradition and kicking off the Christmas season by performing live at the 120th Toronto Santa Claus Parade on November 24th starting at 12:30. The parade is being streamed live on YouTube through the Santa Claus Parade website at www.thesantaclausparade.com. Get online and support your Bears.
Are you unsatisfied with your school pictures? Are you looking more like your family pet than your family? Well, you're in luck. Picture retakes coming December 2nd. Book now. Woof.
Although it does sound like a sandwich, the Green and Gold Classic is our very own Scholar Hall Bears hitting home court on December 13th. The tournament ends next day, December 14th, in the Algonquin Gym. Let's go Green and Gold!
All right, well, welcome. Really appreciate you having on here for our first episode of Season 2 of our podcast. It's great to have you.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Happy to be here.
Yeah, glad to be back for another season, kicking off the episode strong. And for my first question I'd like to ask you is, could you describe the ethic, like the work ethic you'd need to where you almost play professional football?
Again, it's nothing that I would say is tricky outside of what you would expect.
Yeah.
You certainly have to stay disciplined. You're just looking for a little bit of improvement, no different than what you guys do right now, right? Just a little bit of improvement in one aspect every day. Try to get a little bit better, So things like the margin gets smaller, though, at that level. In the high school level, guys make these big leaps, right? And you get better, like, by practice, right? At that level, it's the things like nutrition, things like sleeping, like literally just watching film, right? All of that comes into how are you going to make that little incremental gain that maybe your opponent didn't make, right? So the traditional sense, you have to work hard, you have to stay disciplined, you have to make some sacrifices, but then it's how do you get creative? What are you doing that your opponent's not, right? Getting into, the cliche thing is like, what are you doing when people aren't watching you, right? What are you doing to kind of separate yourself from the next guy, right? So for me as a quarterback, it was just getting lots of throws, right? Like literally I would just go into the gym and I'd just find a piece of the wall and I would throw at a target, like literally grab a sleeve of balls and I'd just throw there for like an hour, just like repetitive motion.
How many balls do you break doing that?
Well, it was the volleyball gym at McMaster, right? So it had the cushion on the wall. So
there you go.
But it's literally what it comes down to. It's just like, how are you going to improve your skill set enough that, it makes a difference on the field?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Well, based off that, I'm assuming you've had to make some pretty big sacrifices as well with all the time you spent in that gym. What are some of the biggest sacrifices that would get you to that type of level that you would have made?
I lived a pretty darn good life, I don't want to paint it like this was, some big, huge sacrifice. Like no different than any other student athlete. There's lots of stuff that comes with it, right? There's lots of great fun that comes with it, obviously, too. So it's not all doom and gloom sacrificial. Certainly, you have to prioritize things, especially in a university setting. There's lots of events. There's lots of fun to be had, obviously. So you kind of have to pick and choose your spots. You can't go to every event. Welcome week was the big one, right, for us. Welcome week at the first week of university. Everyone's going crazy.
Frosh week.
Frosh week, exactly. There's all those events that happen. I lived in residence my first year, so as most people do. So there's all these events that are going on in your residence, and you're kind of skipping all those because you're in the middle of training camp, right? So those are the sacrifices that come to mind, but honestly, that pales in comparison to, the benefits that I would say come out of being a varsity athlete.
So you don't regret those sacrifices whatsoever?
No, definitely not.
Surely, though, you must have faced like setbacks or injuries and stuff like that along the way. And how would you keep yourself motivated? That would happen.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. It's not smooth sailing. There's no storybook ending for most people, right? And there's ups and downs, but that's what makes. I find the downs are what makes the higher moments that much higher, right?
Oh, yeah,
so it's just having that perspective. You know it yourself, right? Going through that, in sport and out of sport, just going through some setbacks. Luckily, injury-wise, I was pretty good. I was very fortunate that way. We had a really good sport med team there at McMaster too, strength and conditioning and just like stretching and kind of making sure you're athletically set up there.
Top-notch people take.
Oh yeah, definitely. So luckily I avoided any major injuries, but certainly there was setbacks. There was difficult times, right? But then how do you get through that? I think just focusing on like who's beside you in the bad times. I think that was something that, as a young man going through university, that was something that like really struck me. It's like who's in your circle when like things aren't going well.
Like who's stuck with you through it.
Yeah, 1,000%.
So able to help you through the harder times in your life, whether it's like injuries or different times where you're just struggling. Who's able to help you out?
That's right.
Really be there for you.
Yeah, because what you'll notice is when things are going good, especially at this, like if you're a starting QB at a big university and you're winning big games, like people are around you. You have like there's definitely people in your circle.
You're pretty popular around campus.
And what happens is in these darker moments, right, when things aren't going as well, that dwindles, right? So it's interesting. It was interesting for me to go back and forth and kind of have perspective on, those highs and lows.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's the cliche thing, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? And it's all just perspective and, just helps you build as a person.
Yeah, definitely. You've really had like the really highs, like with winning, with like winning the Vanier Cup and winning the Heck Run. You had the really highs, but you obviously had some pretty lows. So you would really learn the difference in it. So
yeah, it was striking. And I think that's what makes it all the better, honestly. Like you just, especially at that age in your life, you're really. You're away from home, right? You moved away from home. You're just going all in on this new thing, university, and then you're all in on football as well. So just growing as a person is just an amazing perspective, right? To be able to go through that.
And going back to what you said when you were a young athlete back in university, what do you think is like a valuable quality for just an athlete in general, not just football, to have with them, to carry with them on their journey?
That's a good question.
Especially for them, like the young athletes in our high school year.
Especially that, yeah.
Yeah. I think just that drive. We kind of said it in football, like you sometimes assume that you're working harder than you are. Like, so if we're doing sprints or something like that, everyone's doing sprints.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's what are you going to do that's actually different than your opponent?
Yeah.
Right. And just like being hungry, just having that little bit of a, not satisfied with your own growth, right? Just continuing to be hungry and just trying to get a little bit better, incrementally better, right? So that's a hard thing to instill, though. I think, honestly, that's a lot of that's just innate or it's in your own upbringing.
Yeah,
because some of you guys are already like that. You're built like that where I don't have to say much about it. And you're just you're driven, you're into the film and, working out and making sure your nutrition's good and you're stretching. Like these are all things that go above and beyond just doing the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Right. So
Exactly.
yeah.
They're just getting better every day, whether it's even in the tiniest ways, even if it's not just getting better at a sport, even just making your body a bit healthier, stretching a bit, getting a bit more flexible, anything possibly you can take from it, just try and get better in any type of way possible.
Bang on. Yeah.
Love that.
And if it's forced, then it's not that valuable anyways. You know what I mean? Usually this is coming from a place of you're so motivated to do great things that it's not like a chore for you to spend some time stretching.
You also want to get, like, it's you wanting to get better. It's not someone else wanting.
I have to do this.
It's not someone else It's not someone else wanting to get you better. It's what you want. Your dream.
Exactly. If you're doing that for someone else, then it's probably not going to last that long, right?
Yeah,
people that are really making the leaps there are driven, self-motivated. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, going more on like your career redirection and becoming more of a teacher. I mean, not a lot of people expect that from where you were. So how did your experience as an athlete shape the way you approach it as a teacher and also coaching?
Yeah, it was quite a redirect for sure. So I was coaching at the university level before coming back to teachers college. So I went to teachers college like pretty old. It was a little bit odd that way.
One of the older guys there?
Definitely, yeah. Now, teachers college has a lot of people that do that. They make like career switches and kind of do it a little bit later, or they get into the workforce and then realize, okay, maybe I want to get into teaching. So I wasn't the only one, but certainly it was a little bit of a different path.
Yeah, definitely.
And to make things worse, I could have done the 1 year teachers college, and then I did 2 years by the time. So I spun my tires, didn't do the 1 year teachers college, and then I had to do 2. So it made it a little tougher on myself, but there's a lot of parallels though. There's a lot of parallels. So coaching, a lot of what my philosophy is with teaching, I'm just pulling from coaching anyways. It's more difficult though, I would say, because you don't have that ultimate chip there with playing is playing time.
Yeah.
Right. Ultimately, like every kid wants to play. Now with teaching, like if you don't have that chip in your back pocket, the motivation piece is challenging. Like if you have a student that doesn't want to do it, I'm sure lots of teachers are listening. They're trying to figure out how to figure out that piece, right? Where in sports, that piece is provided, right?
Yeah. Just trying to get the kid motivated, try and find different ways to really help him out and make him kind of like enjoy the class. Yeah.
Certainly, like I could give you all the interview answers, right? I could give all the interview answers, but it's what are you actually doing? I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out. Like
that's fair.
That's the toughest part, I would say, is the unmotivated student, where you're kind of just dragging them through the class. Where in sports, they're unmotivated. Frankly, they're cut. Like frankly, as bad as that sounds, like.
Just gotta let them go.
Wow, there's so many people vying, especially when you're talking about university sport or something. Like, there's so many people vying for that spot.
Yeah.
So that's a difficult part of it. But there's a lot of crossover. I find the coaching, like they say, get off the stage is one thing in teachers college. Like, get off the stage, off the front, and kind of coach from the side, right? And some of us do a better job than others at that. That's directly from sport. So they're like, what does your student need to kind of like nudge them along? Right. But again, that's an interview answer. It's tough to actually do that, right? And identify what each kid needs.
Easier to say it than do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And for people taking other people's spots, like you were just saying in university level. So I assume when you were being a quarterback for McMaster, did you have a ton of other guys going for your spot too as QB?
Oh yeah.
I assume?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It was a fight.
It's survival of the fittest, right? At the end of the day, it is. And some programs have a little bit more loyalty to their guy, per se, like especially quarterback. But others, it's just you gotta earn it, regardless. Now, at the end of the day, you gotta remember you're getting paid to coach, right? So it's not like the U.S. You're not talking millions, but these guys still have families that are like moving across the country to coach, and they're like living on their coaching salary. So if you're not winning games, used to be you could still coach for 10 plus years, even if you're not making playoffs and stuff like that. Nowadays, it's becoming more competitive where guys are getting fired. It's a little bit more cutthroat. So that trickles down, unfortunately, or however you want to look at it. It does trickle down to the players. There's a little bit more pressure to perform. So generally, you're going to have the best player is going to be the one playing, right? So there's competition at every position every year.
So that must be a really weird environment because you're hanging out with those guys, especially as a quarterback. You're always in the quarterback room. You're doing film with them constantly. So you must be pretty close. But at the same time,
one spot.
One guy's trying to take the other guy's job, and it's very cutthroat.
It is.
Of that. So must be a weird environment. Like how is that?
Yeah, you nailed it. It is, but you would have experienced it with any sport, right? It's the same thing. Basketball, you have how many guys on a roster and how many guys are actually playing, right? So you're after those spots, and it's you see it in the NFL too. There's also, you have to be realistic about your skill set versus their skill set. It's not some coach just randomly like you're better, right?
Yeah.
At the university level, it's filmed from 2 angles. It's intercut like what we do, sideline, end zone. They're watching your practice film. They're charting like incompletions, completions, like what's your read percentage, like what's your footwork. You're supposed to take a 3-step drop. Why are you doing this random 5-step? Right? It's now throwing off the time and everywhere. So like, let's say I'm taking these random 5 steps and you're competing with me and you got clean footwork and the ball's coming out. I can see it. You can see it. It's tangible. It's hard for me to argue and say, oh, coach likes you better and all this other stuff, right? Like, because it's actually, they're tracking it. So that does make it easier for sure.
I believe those mental reps are really important. Yeah, super important.
Yeah.
So how would you say being a coach influenced your life? Both like professionally, so like as a teacher, you kind of already explained that. But what about more personally in your own life?
Coaching, influencing personal life. Well, it's brought me a lot of joy. I've had a lot of great memories already just with coaching, right? University coaching was a blast. It was an absolute blast. The downside is, as I kind of mentioned, it's tough to make a living doing it because you could just be an adult and you're out of I guess that's like a lot of jobs. You know, we're pretty spoiled as teachers because you have that job security.
Yeah.
But you could just be out of a job, right? If your team's not winning or whatever, you're not performing. Even if you're doing a good job, like in OUA, it's so competitive. There's teams that are doing a good job and they're still not winning football games, right? So you could be out of work. So I had a lot of fun with it. But for me personally, as a way to kind of, I really wanted to focus now, you know, raising a family, right? Kind of settling down, young father now. It's like, this would make a lot more sense. So I knew I had to take a bit of a sacrifice as far as like go to teacher's college. That was a little bit uncomfortable, right? Yeah. Do that for 2 years, which like now you're not making money, right? Like think about making money full time and then not. It's tough.
It'd be a big change.
It's a big
stressful
change.
too. I mean,
Yeah, for sure. But fast forward, it's much more reasonable now to like have a young family and stuff than coaching university football, where you're on the phone, you're recruiting, you're watching film, you're just like constantly working essentially.
Yeah, and as a young father, as you mentioned, what lessons have you learned from your own students and players that you'd hope to teach your own child?
Hope to teach him from you guys.
Yeah, you can teach him a few things from that.
I remember you came out to practice.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, daddy daycare. Yeah.
How old is he, by the way?
He is, you're putting me on the spot. He's 10 months.
10 months, so...
You won't know the answer anyways, so... You're roughly 10 months.
No one knows.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. I mean, you want him to be a good kid, obviously. I think one thing that happens with teaching is it's so in your face when you have some good students. You're all good students.
In our own way.
You're in your own way. But you have some exceptional students and some polite, like, I think it's just being polite, being respectful. Like, you want to teach the kid that anyways. Yeah. But it really jumps out with teaching, and especially with coaching and like volunteer coaching, right? Like things like Mr. Ross and I are cleaning the locker room, right? Put you guys on the spot. We're cleaning the locker room, right? Because people are leaving their gear in the locker room, right?
Yeah.
But that's what I had to reflect on is like, that's not necessarily you guys saying like, you know, bad words to us and like showing us disrespect necessarily on purpose, right? It's just like it's the same reason like when kids leave garbage in the classroom, or like there's just like a lack of foresight on like who's cleaning that up, you know. And I find certain kids have that lesson already. Like they'll pick up that garbage already, right? Or they're helping you clean up the locker room.
Yeah,
that's from like parenting, in my opinion, right? Or it's from some mentorship, but somewhere along the line. So that's what I would try to like, you know, I guess bring from teaching and coaching to my son would be just like, be respectful. Like these are volunteers, or, people just saying thank you at the end of class or whatever. Like those tend to stick out.
Yeah, like treat someone as you would yourself, right?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Flipping that around, how would you say being a parent changed your perspective on coaching?
That's a good one too. Yeah, I like that question. Realizing that you all have parents,
Yep.
like it's a very obvious thing, or guardians, or people in your life who care about you, and just taking a step back and just like, again, I can give you the interview answer and then just what you're actually doing, right? Like you're always trying to care for your students and stuff like that. But I think it does kick it up a level when you have your own kid and you can reflect and kind of just look at all these students have people that care about them in their own lives too, and just treating all you guys with respect and just trying to make sure, like we coach you hard, especially QB, as you know, like we coach you hard, but it's from a place of love. It's trying not to isolate or bully you. And
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of times as an athlete, it feels sometimes like, oh, you're just going hard on me because you don't like me or whatever. And I've had a few guys on our team come up to me and be like, I swear this coach hates me. I'm like, he doesn't hate you. It's just they're just trying to push you to be better, and that's all they want from you is to be a better player and a better person.
well, they say like the worst thing you could have is when the coach stops talking to you.
Yeah.
Like, not stops talking to you, but stops coaching you hard.
Stops caring about you.
Yeah, like so sometimes that coaching hard is just from a belief standpoint. Right? It's just making sure that you guys are getting as much of your potential as you can. Right? So I think that's been a big shift for me. And I heard other teachers tell me that it will change your perspective, right? You have your own family and it kind of, you just realize, these students are coming from a place of love. They have needs too. Plus, some of us have it better than others, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing. Like, I was super fortunate. My whole life had a great family and still do. Like, I know some of my students don't have that too, right? So just also kind of reflecting on that, just home lives and just like what you can do to support.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's one of those interview answers where it's hard to actually pull off. Like it is hard to consistently do that too.
And when you think of your legacy as a coach and a teacher, what do you hope your students and players remember more about you? Or like, what do you want to leave behind for them? For when you're finally done?
Yeah, I was gonna say, am I done here? Am I finding something out?
Well, I mean, you got so many years ahead of you, but like in
A
your
lot of years left.
like what has it been 4 years coaching?
Yes, yeah.
So 3
I know
years.
what you're asking.
Yeah.
3 years as a head coach and 1 year as offense coordinator, right?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I guess being fair would be what I'm looking for, honestly. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It sounds bad. It doesn't matter if you guys like me per se. I've got lots of friends on my own. I got a big family. Like, so did you think I was fair at least, And that would probably be my biggest thing. Like the legacy piece, I'm hyper competitive. And
Seen that multiple times.
yeah, but I relate to guys that are also hyper competitive.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So those guys, there's really no question we're going to have a good relationship. It's the guys that are in it just for fun, which is totally fine because it's a high school sport. There might be some disconnect between me and those guys because at the end of the day, like they might be like, why are you so serious about this? Why are you coaching us so hard? We're just high school ball or something.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the legacy piece would be just trying to make sure that you're reflected as fair.
Yeah, totally. So what are some of the most rewarding aspects you'd say of coaching the younger athletes in this school here?
I think just having you reach your potential would be rewarding, right? Just seeing a student
Succeed.
succeed, yeah, but like succeeding not necessarily meaning winning, just meaning like you're getting the best out of that student. They're improving in their skills and they're kind of they're understanding the game and they're having fun, right? Usually you have fun when you win, right? Like at the end of the day, especially when you're hyper competitive, you don't like losing, obviously, but that doesn't mean you didn't reach your potential, right? You
Yeah.
can still be fulfilling even with losing, right? Because you're just giving the best that you have, right? So that's certainly a rewarding aspect of coaching. Seeing a kid work, seeing a kid buy in, believe it, right? You folks sacrifice quite a bit too, right? You put your bodies out there. You work really hard. You're trying to balance an academic schedule too, right? It's very similar to university. It doesn't come with the glory of university, right? So it is rewarding to see you reach that potential and to have fun and enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I've coached like much younger ages, and it's just, to me, it's the greatest thing. Like telling a kid some like being explaining something to them, and then they go out there and do exactly what it is, and they succeed doing it.
Yeah.
It's the best feeling. Like and then seeing them happy with it as well.
Well, they can't hide, or they can hide, I guess, but they most likely won't hide their emotions, right? So when they do it, it's like, wow, I actually did that. Or there's a tangible like feedback where where you guys try to play it cool.
Yeah.
You know, you don't show that side of you, I guess. So certainly with the young kids, yeah, it's even more so. Yeah.
I guess what coach was saying worked out there.
Yeah.
I've had a few times where I've been pretty. I mean, there was like I remember one play. It was the Kansas. I mean, you guys aren't gonna know what that is, but Kansas with
Tell
the
'em, crossing concept.
crossing concept. Got a guy coming underneath on the drag. Got a guy coming about not a hook route, but similar dig route.
Yeah.
Good read. It's a hard throw, but I hit it once in this year, and I look to the sideline, and I see him freaking so
Fired
happy
up.
about it,
Oh, yeah.
fired up.
Well, it's a next
play.
level read, right?
Exactly.
Next
I
level
was so
progression.
happy with that, and it did feel amazing. I could tell on your face you
Yeah.
were pretty happy with it
Oh yeah,
too.
pumped. I thought we were gonna hit it a bunch more after. It was nice to see it.
I hit it a few. I did hit it a few more times.
But yeah, you gotta shout out Keziah too, right? Keziah was on that.
Oh,
Keziah
big
Fry.
shout out
Keziah
Keziah.
Fry.
Yeah, I remember when we were scrimmaging for like one of our first practices like this year. I remember Kansas was like one of the first ones you guys were running.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a main play in our playbook right there.
Yeah, definitely it puts you guys in a bind, right?
Yeah.
It's a high-low read to try to put the linebackers in a bind.
For sure.
And when that safety comes down, throw it over top.
Yeah, it does.
So moving back here, is there a piece of advice or a mantra that you always share with your teams that you've coached that you feel embodies your approach to life in sports? You've had a few on our team. I know that.
Yeah, it's hard to not get just into a cliche fest and just give you all the sports cliches.
Yeah.
I think the biggest one just is the compete, like literally compete. And I'm talking to a guy that doesn't need to hear that, right? You compete harder than anyone I know.
I appreciate that.
The compete level, like some students just don't have that, right? And they need to be reminded that part. Or again, we're talking about young men at the university level and then at the high school level primarily. And sometimes you play it cool. You're just trying not to, like, even in class, you see it all the time. Like, people don't want to fail, so then they'll skip class, right? Or they don't want to fail a test, so then they won't show up, or they won't try, or they'll like just dial up some excuse so that they escape this possibility of failing something, right? So you see it in sports too. So just giving them that nudge, like, it's okay to compete, like, just go out and compete like crazy, and sometimes you lose, and it's okay to lose too. Like, it just, so for me, it's that compete aspect, and if I think of any success I've had, it's because of that. Like, a lot of times we've talked about how it comes down to the team that wants it the most, right? Like, obviously there's huge talent disparities, and then sometimes you might get an upset. But if we're talking a relatively balanced teams competing, a lot of times, especially at this level, is just who wants it more, right? It's literally that compete piece, right? But again, that's hard to instill. Still hard to figure out.
Yeah, definitely.
Easier said than done, for sure.
Yeah.
And how do you think schools can use sports to improve the overall quality of life for students?
Well, I think you're sitting in it right now, right? You're literally like,
Exactly.
we can extend it past sports. You can see the quality of, attention to detail, right? With the podcast, the clever name and everything, the logo.
Great production team.
Yeah.
Great production
it is.
team.
It is.
Shout out the production team,
Let's go.
Stavko.
So I think I would extend it beyond sports, right? Think of our, the band, right? Think of the dance. Think of media arts, the
Theater.
theater, right?
They do a
Arts.
phenomenal job every year.
We just took home the provincial title in Rocket League,
There we go.
right?
we
Esports.
did.
Shout out esports team.
Esports.
Shout out esports team.
So I would extend it to beyond sports. I think it's just a very obvious increase in your quality of life when you can find something to just dive into and find a little niche to really, like, people who are also interested in what you're interested in. Especially, I think our school does a really good job of it. Honestly, they find these little niches. Like, the esports thing is getting bigger, but that's a pretty rare thing, right? And I think I give our school a lot of credit that they came together and said, there's people interested in this that will go hard just like we are, in basketball and football and volleyball, whatever.
People don't think how much they might have practiced. They think it's like, oh, it's just a video game. But there comes a level of just like the very specifics of the certain game, focusing on those, practicing those. It's just like any other sport. They might not have the full physical part of it, but it's a lot more mental for them.
Exactly.
It's hard work and everything.
Exactly.
I always find it. And also, we had a beautiful Remembrance Day ceremony today.
Yeah, there you go.
It's amazing. Band did well. Or was it the choir did well?
Yeah, choir's another one, right? So I think just all of those things are great examples of how students have had their lives enriched, right, by having these club opportunities available, right? It increases their quality of life. It gives them memories, right? A lot of them aren't going to remember my grade 9 geography class, you know. I know that. But they're going to remember these like esports championship or, you know, volleyball championship or, you know, whatever, the podcast, different things, these different experiences. Definitely. Right.
So in terms of teams and teamwork, how would you say you encourage a sense of teamwork and just community within like the teams you coach or even the classroom?
Yeah, again, I have the kind of interview answers and then what I can actually pull off, right? Like in the classroom, I always try to approach it with that, but it's really hard, you know, especially with the social dynamics in a high school. Like the weakest player on the team, let's say, and the weakest student in the room, what you'd love is if your strongest student in the room and your strongest player and that weakest player would come together and they'd help each other out. But a lot of times you have these social dynamics and there's bullying, unfortunately, and there's these different things. So it's hard to pull off. But you're trying to instill, I guess, the fact of just lifting each other up, right? We're only as strong as our weakest player. You're only as strong as your weakest student, technically, you know, and just having people help each other out. Again, I'm new into my teaching career, so I'm trying to figure that out. I'm sure there's teachers that do a good job of that, with like strategic pairing, you know, group work and different things like that, where you are teaching each other, you know. On the football field, football is the best, in my opinion, obviously. I'm super biased, but it's the best.
Best sport best sport there is.
But what I love about it is because there's a position for everyone, right? There's every body type has a position. Maya Turner, I think that's her name. Give her a shout out. She was a youth sports kicker out in Manitoba. She's literally an all-star kicker as a female. Yeah, like so there's positions for everyone, and I just think coming together as a team, helping each other out, right? That's going to be the goal.
Because you mentioned you were new into teaching. How long have you been teaching so far? Like, how many years are you into it?
Not very long. Like, this is my 4th year, I think.
Yeah.
One odd thing about me is I have zero perspective of time. Like, I have like months, and ask my wife. I have no idea of months and years and things like that. But I think I'm in my 4th year, pretty sure.
And has it always been geography?
No, I wiggled my way away from math. You know, great department, love math, but I wiggled my way away from math when Mr. Silveri retired. It opened up a geography spot, and I was able to get in there.
Oh, sweet.
You enjoying it so far?
Yeah, I love it. Great department. I mean, all around the school, it's an excellent community of teachers, and it's no different than you asked about teamwork earlier, right? It's no different than that. It's you get a special group of people together that are all helping each other out. And it's a good spot.
Nice.
That's awesome. Well, we'll jump into these rapid fire questions. Pretty much as we'll just ask you one real quick like that. You just give us an answer.
Okay.
Nice and quick.
Very random questions.
Okay.
We'll go off with, if you could switch lives with one person for a day, who would it be and why? Dead or alive?
Dead or alive. Wow.
Any time period.
Oh, I'm going to break your rules on the rapid fire because I have nothing right away. Honestly, my embarrassing answer would be I probably wouldn't switch lives right now. You know, I got a little boy at home. I just love every minute with him, and my beautiful wife. So for fun, I think maybe like Saquon Barkley or something like that.
That would be pretty cool.
Just feel what it feels like to reverse hurdle over someone.
That was nuts.
In traffic. Yeah.
Saw that?
Yeah.
How do you hurdle someone over backwards?
Blind. Yeah. Just instinctual.
Yeah.
After
Crazy.
a spin move. Dude.
After a spin move too.
Amazing.
Jeez, that's crazy. Next question. If you could learn any skill in an instant, what would it be?
Ooh, any skill. If you mean like fully learn it, maybe cooking.
Master it.
You speak a lot of languages?
No, definitely not. I'll go cooking.
Cooking? That's a solid. Very useful in both
I like
get
to
paid
eat.
for it, and if you don't get paid for it, it's you can cook for your family, you cook for yourself. It's a solid answer.
Okay, appreciate
Definitely
it.
up there for me.
What is one of your favorite songs to listen to get pumped up for a game?
Ooh.
Pump up song.
Yeah, I don't have a. I guess first one that pops up, you wouldn't even probably know. Tech 9, the Tech 9 Red Nose.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I like rap for football games.
Yeah.
You know.
For getting pumped, did you have a specific ritual back then for getting pumped up before
That
the
is
game?
true.
Like, did you do anything specific? Eat anything?
Yeah, a little bit.
You a superstitious guy?
Power nap?
Yeah, I'm superstitious for sure.
really?
It wasn't like insane, you know, but
Yeah.
I'd like to do certain things a certain way. I'm trying to think. I would sometimes dress in all black, you know, when I'd walk to games, and that was like my own like
Coming like Batman.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what it was, like this like assassin, you know, type of like just getting in this weird mindset. You know, certainly listen to music, but the thing with quarterback, as you know, you have to find the balance. You can't get too pumped up.
Yeah.
So it's like you're getting pumped up, but you like I think what does Rodgers listen to? Aaron Rodgers. He listened to
Who
like
knows what
Bonnie
he
Vay
listens
and
to?
like you know, kind of like hippy dippy stuff, right? To stay like kind of zen, right? You have to find a balance. So you can't get just like on defense. You guys can just run around and get super hyped and
Try to just kill someone.
within the game.
Within the game.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, like
Actually.
as a quarterback, you have to. If you get too pumped up, then you're not thinking right. But if you don't get pumped up enough, then it's like you don't have that type of intensity you need.
Yeah, it's a fine balance. Fine balance for sure.
You just have to keep your head in the game, right? You can't wander off too much.
Yeah.
Back on the cooking, because that's what really matters here, the food. What would you say? What's your favorite food?
Oh boy. Anyone that knows me knows I like to eat. You know, I'm at Lenny's every day. I try not to.
Hey, shout out Lenny.
Lenny
Shout out
cooks up.
Lenny's. Yeah. Favorite food. Again, I'm not great at this rapid fire. I don't really have a favorite food, but maybe Mom's Chili's just coming to mind as my.
Mom's
Do you
chili.
have one post game
answer.
where you're just like, I gotta go to this place right now?
No, post game you're eating anything and everything. Actually, you know what? Tanvir Bangu was a big D lineman that I played with. He had a family that had a Indian restaurant, and they would make samosas after the game. And I've never had like homemade samosas, like, and they'd literally just have boxes of them, and the grease would just be pouring through the bottom of it. Like, it was amazing. That's coming back. Actually, I can almost taste it right now. So.
Is that you said they have an Indian store?
Yeah,
is
they
that
were down. I
McMaster's?
think like Brampton or Mississauga or something. Yeah,
You remember the name of it?
No, I don't.
I need to find out. I need to go there and try that.
I can follow up.
You still keep in touch with some of those guys that you played with?
Yeah, certainly, yeah.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was back for their homecoming not too long ago, and it's a tight knit group, right? When you go through something like we did, we won the national championship there the one year, and then we lost another year. Like, you certainly you're fighting alongside those guys for so long. You get pretty close, definitely.
And so you build a family, right? It's like a
Yeah.
This is a bit not one of these questions, but going back onto like the field, like McMaster, the school, is it pretty surreal going back and like you remember yourself there as an athlete, and you go back there as how you are now. You're older than you were then. Is it surreal? Like, what's that feeling like?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we stood in the end zone. I won't tell you why, but we were in the end zone at the game watching from that vantage point. And it was awesome. I mean, you literally had memories of that end zone, like literally plays that happened in that end zone, like right in front of you. And then we went out on the field after and talked to a bunch of old coaches and players and just hung out with each other. So certainly all those memories come back, you know, and when you're all in on it, like we were, those memories are a little bit more ingrained, right? It's not something we just passively did. Like the amount of film we watched, and just like I could literally, you know, dictate all these plays back to you just because you've watched them so many times on film and they're really burned into your mind. So yeah, it was a great feeling to go back.
This is also a random question, but what's the longest play call? Do you remember the name of the longest play call you've ever had? Because as a quarterback, I know some of them are a mouthful. And
I don't because now I'm getting these like other offenses I've played and coached in, kind of like conflating it. But usually it was like a motion tag to a formation and then a protection and then the play, right? Where it would get really long is if you had a kill tag, like if you watch in the NFL, they go kill, and they kill it to another play. So then you'd have a follow-up. We did a few of those. We'd have a call a play, motion to a play, protection, play, kill, and then a whole nother play set. You know, that gets pretty long.
Yeah.
But
It's a mouthful. That's
it
for
is,
sure.
yeah.
And I'm aware of that. I've messed up a few simple ones just in our huddle, and it goes supposed to go left and it goes right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking back. I'm like, that's not right.
Well, it's a challenge. Like coaching wise, it's a challenge. Like you want to actually try to strip it down. You want to try to strip the verbiage down, but it's tough. If you build it, they call it the West Coast offense. Like a lot of that terminology comes from that, and it's almost like a language where like everything has a tag. So technically, you would know a play we've never ran before just because we give you a formation, you know, an emotion, you know, and you kind of piece these things together almost like you would a sentence.
Yeah.
But that can get wordy, obviously. So I think that's what happens in the NFL. If you listen to those tags, like some of them are just so wordy because there's all those little pieces. But then the flip side is some of them are just like a one-word play call, right? So some coaches build in like these like rapid fire, kind of like our fire tags. Like one word means all of this.
Yeah.
And then there's more memorization from the players.
Well, when it was your first ever game, like where you played for McMaster in front of the people and stuff, like were you like really nervous, like super nervous going out? How did you deal with that if you were? What did you do?
I don't remember feeling that nervous. I feel like it sounds like I'm boosting on that, but I don't remember feeling that nervous. I think a lot of it was I played Essex Ravens, shout out the Ravens, but this was the OVFL back in the day. It's now like the OPFL or whatever. It's changed name a million times, but it was a great league, and we played, you know, awesome games, like highly competitive games. It's kind of like in the States where, like, how are these kids that are 18 years old? Like some of those receivers, I swear, Alabama had like 17-year-olds.
Bama has a
Young, I couldn't
17.
believe it either.
Yeah.
Ohio State has a 17-year-old, and they're out there balling.
So how is
My
that?
age?
Yeah, these guys, like, we're older than these guys, and they're playing D1 football. It's like, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong?
Well, part of that brings that to mind is like because probably last year those guys were playing 6A Texas football, like you know what I mean. So their stage was already so high. So I was certainly not doing that, but I'm bringing that to the like. I think I had some high intensity games like in travel football leading up to it. That when I got to university, it was like felt a little bit more used to those competitive moments. You know, also like dialing it into the moment, like what play are we on? You know, like literally just like, or like, what's the formation, right? So yeah, you're in the stadium and you got all this expectation stuff, but you're just so used to like paying attention to the detail. Like, where should my receivers be? Are we in the right formation? You lose track of all the rest. Like you would lose track of the crowds and camera and things like that. Cause you just like, what is the snap count? Like literally what's the protection supposed to be?
Is that locked in?
Yeah, you're locked in on those details. Yeah.
For the Vanier Cup, so the national championship, did you ever, or actually in any game, did you ever just take a moment to kind of look around and see all the fans and kind of take all that?
Yeah, certainly. Unfortunately, we got smoked my last game ever. We got smoked at.
Bad.
Yeah, it was bad. It was at the Sky Dome. I call it. I don't know what's called now. The Toronto.
Where the Toronto
called
Argos
the Sky Dome.
plays?
Yeah,
I have no idea what it's called.
Rogers Center. Yeah.
That's the Argos play at the Rogers Center?
No, the Argos play at the new outdoor one, but it used to be the big indoor stadium.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We had
So
30,000 in there. Like it was
wow.
insane. 30,000.
Playing in front of 30K. That must have been insane.
And the way it's laid out was like your bench, you'd look right behind it was crowd, like literally right there. So that one, I noticed the crowd. Like it was a little bit more in your face, and it was very pro Mac because we played Laval again, and we were basically the home team, right?
Yeah.
So people just traveled really well to it. Where the year before we played at BC Place in front of like 26 or something. Like it was a good crowd too, but it was a lot of like people that didn't really care about the game per se, who wins or loses, because they were out there for the CFL game anyways, right? So I think that 2012, the second one, the one that we lost, the fans were really like, so there was some moments where you looked around and like, wow, this is a great atmosphere. Yeah.
Have to give it a watch.
Yeah,
Maybe we should watch the first one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what's funny is the second one's on YouTube. The second one, so you can go watch, anytime you want, us lose and me just get smoked. And the first one you can't find. It's like on a little DVD that we all pass around, because we like
crazy.
watching that one. But Yeah.
This is a really hard question. I'm gonna hit you with a hard one here.
Okay.
What makes you smile the most?
Ooh, wow. Right now, I would say my son.
Yeah.
You know, is that why you're saying it's an easy question?
Yeah,
'Cause you're
yeah.
like, oh, okay, yeah.
Sure.
You knew, yeah, yeah. It's amazing. It's an amazing process, amazing part of your life. You know, just him smiling and laughing and doing new cool things every day is pretty amazing. Yeah, it's hard to put into words, but definitely, as of now, that's what makes me smile the most.
That's wonderful to hear.
Yeah, appreciate
That's
it.
great to hear. Maybe he'll play football too.
Maybe football won't even be around. You know, who knows?
It better be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll be without a full hobby. I don't know what I'll do.
We'll see.
I don't know what I'll do, honestly. That's how I spend every Sunday.
Yeah. Well, I guess in the States it's so ingrained that it's hard to believe it goes anywhere, but I could see it pivoting a little
It
bit
looks
too.
like, I feel like it's going uphill. I mean, Chippewas, they got a junior
Yeah,
team
yeah.
now. And, next few years, I think they're going to get a senior team. So
Yeah, for sure.
They don't have a senior team now, or just
They just-
lack of people.
they just don't have enough people. And coaches, too. They don't have enough people and they don't have coaches.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Great conversation. Appreciate
You did a
it.
great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carter.
Yeah, thank you, Carter. Thank you, Mr. Opko. Thank you to all our production team.
And we'll see you on the next one. Roll Bears.
Roll Bears.
Bears.